welcome back to Steve Rob Reviews. Today, as you can see, I got the fridge, and this is part 2 of my little bit of an experiment on running a regular 120 volt fridge up at my cabin, off grid. If you guys haven't seen the first part, it shows the inverter I'm going to use. I'll put that down in the link below. But I want to show you a couple of things here first. This is the tag that come inside the fridge. So you could see it's 218,000 watts a year use. Now it's saying here similar models would use between $24 and $41 worth of hydro a year, but of course I'm on a solar system. So we're going to see if this thing works. I want to show you something else here. You guys probably can't see it in the pictures there, but it's got a nice great big dent in the front here too. But I'm going to put a YouTube sticker over top of that, and I'll put some other YouTube stickers on there too. But this is the fridge here, and it's set at 4, and that's what it says you're supposed to leave it at. It's got like a nice little freezer here. I haven't even taken the blue tape off yet, but yeah, it's a nice size, just over 3 cubic feet. I'm going to show you the inspection plate on the back and how much power this uses. Okay, here we go right here, and 0.79 amps at 115 volts AC, and guess where it's made? Findlay, Ohio, USA. Isn't that something else? Okay, so let's get to the experiment right now. Okay, so before we get started, here's the plug right here, 3-prong plug, and I got all my testing equipment ready to go here. The thing is, you have to do a little bit of math with this. I'm not testing at 115 volts. I'm testing at 120 volts. So it's not going to be 90 watts. 90 watts is at 115. So you got to take everything down to wattage. You really can't use, when you're trying to figure out power usage, you can't really use amps. They're using amps at 115 volts. I like to bring everything to wattage, which is universal. And then you can actually fine-tune exactly what you can expect to get out of, you know, the power use of this. So at 0.79 at 115, they're saying it's going to have about 90 watts, but it's a little bit higher with the higher voltage, so around 94 watts. So if you were to take 94 watts, and you're going to end up with somewhere around 8 amps at 12 volts. That's what I'm predicting for up north. But a fridge, a lot of people are going to ask, well, how long does a fridge actually stay on? Because you'd have to know, how long does the fridge going to stay on? Well, I'm predicting this fridge is probably going to take 2 hours to cool down before it actually stops. I don't know. I'm going to test it and find out. But at 7.9 amps at 12 volts, how long is this thing going to run on an average day when it cools down? Well, what I've looked into, fridges have a duty cycle of around maybe 30 to 40%. So they're on, you know, 30 to 40% and off the rest of the time 60 to 70%. So I figure if I just were to figure the specs out on this, say this is running for 8 hours. 8 hours would be around 64 amps. And when you think of my batteries, I'm going to have 4 Trojan T605 batteries, give me about 800 amps. So me taking, say, 65 amps out just for the fridge for the day, I think that's no problem, because it's, what is that, like 8-9% capacity of the batteries. I don't like to take my batteries down below 20-25%. The more you take a battery down, you start going down into 50% and more, well, your batteries just don't last long. So I figure I can get 8-10 years out of my batteries, where if you start discharging them too much, yeah, they ain't going to last that long. So I got all my testing equipment ready to go. I haven't even plugged it in yet, and we're going to see what kind of specs this actually is, because a lot of times, like I've shown in my other testing, yeah, the specs aren't just the same as when you test them in real life. We're going to turn this on, we're going to see what the peak is, and we're going to see what it runs at, and then we'll see what it's going to be like up at the camp. in part 3. So let's take a look at the testing right now, and let's see what we come up with. Okay, I got you all set up there. Let's just take a look and see what's going on here. All I'm going to do is just plug it in, and away we go. Okay, so what did you think there? Well, I tell you what, I'm surprised at the numbers. You could see the huge swing between the specs on when it first starts up compared to running. Guys, this thing shot up to 7 amps at 120 volts. That's around 850 watts. Yeah, that's a huge swing. That's when you can tell when you need an inverter that can handle the high peak. And 850 watts has got to be around 70 amps at 12 volts. So that's a lot of amperage just for the startup. But that was only for a couple of seconds while it just starts up. And that's no problem at all. But it is running now. I don't know if you can hear it, but it's still running now. I'm going to leave it on and see how long it takes to cool right down before it shuts off at the number 4 setting. And I'll see if that's cold enough. But it's stabilizing now at 0.565. So I know there's going to be some loss at the inverter. And so we'll just say 0.6. So 0.6 is around 72 amps, which is better than 72 watts, which is better than I thought at 120 volts. So we got 0.6 amps at 72 watts at 120 volts. You see how complicated this can be? So if we just take the 72 watts at 12 volts, we're down to under the specs that I thought. I thought I'd be close to 8 amps. We're down to about 6 DC amps drawing out of my battery at 12 volts. And I thought that's even better. So if we were to just take 6 times 8 is 48. So that'd be 6 amps over 8 hours is about 48 amps, which is a lot less than what I predicted before after doing the testing. And you have to realize that during the daytime when the sun is shining, or like I said in part 1, I believe even when it's cloudy, it'll still run this fridge strictly off the solar panels, because my solar panels have a total capacity of producing 20 amps, which is absolutely fantastic, and I got a lot of capacity left over. So I'm predicting that this here will have no problem running up at the camp, but you really don't know until you test it. So I'd like to hear from you guys in the comments. As far as I can see with the math, if I've done it right, this thing is going to draw roughly 6 amps DC at 12 volts. And I'm going to have lots of capacity to run this thing, because I only need it to run, if what I'm reading online is correct, about 8 hours a day. Even 10 hours were around, say, even 50 amps. Out of them off sunlight hours, I'm only going to be running this in the summertime. I'm not going to be running this in the winter, or in the fall, because of course I got the wood stove on. It'd be hot in there. What's the sense, right? This thing's just going to keep on chugging away. Plus, when it's cold outside, when I'm up there in November, it's about freezing to about 10 below, and the batteries suffer immensely in the cold. I cannot expect to get the same capacity out of the 4 batteries. So this will only be used in the summertime, and over the hours, say from 9 o'clock at night till, say we'll go 9 o'clock in the morning. That's 12 hours that I'll be using off of the batteries. And how many hours out of that 12 hours is the fridge going to be running? And that's the key thing. I really don't know. But even if it runs 50% of the time, that's only 6 hours. So 6 hours at 6 amps. Guys, we're still under, even with the losses through the inverter, we're going to be still under 40 amps. And, you know, I think it's going to be a great experiment to actually prove that you don't need to go out and buy one of these high efficiency fridges and spend $1,000. This was under 200 bucks delivered to my door. And for a lot of you, you're probably never going to do this experiment. You're never going to get solar, and you're never going to do this kind of stuff. But you know what? If you ever need to run your fridge, it's good to know that if you had an inverter at your place, you could actually use it. And how many hours are you going to be able to run your fridge off an inverter? A lot of people have hydro go out in their, in their particular location. And of course, you have to have a gen set, and you have to start it up and all that kind of stuff. A lot of people should really think about just an inverter, a couple of batteries that are, being charged off of your 120 volt circuit and maintained all the time. So when the hydro does go out, I tell you what, you could run a fridge a long time off of a set of batteries. So thanks for joining me here today. Stay tuned for part 3. I'm going to take you up to the camp, and I'm going to do this experiment again. I'm going to bring all my testing equipment, and I'm going to show you the complete setup from the batteries to inside, and how from the beginning, when I wired the cabin myself, I wired it with an on-off switch on this particular outlet just for this purpose in the future. So thanks for joining me here today. If you haven't seen this channel before, you're welcome to subscribe. These guys take care. Come back again now, eh? Cheers.